This is the Dark Illumination Report podcast for Saturday, August 29th, 2020. And on today's episode, I'm going to be kind of going over some ground I've covered before because I wanted to kind of elaborate on something that I said in response to one of Hayden's questions, who asked, do the demons present themselves to the person, or do people call the demons and then ask for certain demons to present themselves to them? And I'm going to answer that question and more today.
This is the Dark Illumination Report podcast, the official podcast of Shadow Path Diabolism, your daily dose of Diabolonian philosophy to inspire you on your journey down the crooked shadow path. Here's your host, R.J. Womack, Brother Nero.
Hey everybody, thanks for joining me for this edition of the podcast. I'm your host, R.J. Womack, aka Brother Nero, and this is the Dark Illumination Report podcast, the podcast where we promote the religious worship of Satan and demons as a serious faith and way of life, and we help our fellow Diabolists on their journey down the crooked shadow path. Now, I want to talk a little bit about a question that Hayden asked. He asked me, do people call the demons and ask them to present themselves or make themselves known, or do the demons come of their own accord and kind of, make themselves known? And the answer is they do both. Sometimes people call them and the demons respond. Sometimes a certain demon will want to work with somebody and they will present themselves and make themselves known. And here's the important thing I wanted to say about this. Don't think that you have to work with an entire pantheon of demons or demonic gods. Most people, regardless of whatever tradition they follow, whether it's demonolatry or traditional Satanism or shadow path diabolism or whatever the case may be, work with Satan and Lucifer and only a few other demons, is like maybe 2 or 3 others. Now, that doesn't mean they don't honor the other demons. It doesn't mean they don't call upon the other demons occasionally, but they usually have a very close connection with Satan plus about 2 or 3 other demons. It's very common, and they will work with only a few at a time. So don't feel bad if you don't feel a deep connection with all of the demons, because it just seems to work that way. People seem to gravitate towards certain demons, and certain demons seem to gravitate towards certain people, and you'll only work with a handful of them in most cases. So if you, like I said, if you feel like you don't have a connection with certain demons, don't worry about it. Just let it develop over time, and just do what you feel is right and do what's in accordance with your will and your desires and what you feel you're being communicated. That's the most important thing. And to that end, I want to say something else too that I think is very important. And I've always said on this podcast, I'm always kind of anti using someone else's prayers. In other words, I don't think you should follow anybody's prayer or anybody's book verbatim, because I really think it limits your personal connection with the demons. Now, if somebody's prayer or a part of somebody's ritual inspires you and you want to build your ritual based on that and you want to practice some of their ideas, that's fine. But you always need to make sure that you keep a personal element in your rituals, and remember that the connection between you and the demons is the most important part. So the words that you use should come from your heart. And even if you do use a scripted ritual, you use somebody else's ritual, for the most part, always leave a little bit of time left, or a little invocation section where you can just speak to Satan and pray to Satan or invoke him with your own words that feel right to you. Always leave space for that. Don't make the entire ritual impersonal and just a rote reading of somebody else's work. It's just not a good way to make a connection. And I think most practitioners would agree with this, regardless of what tradition they come from, if they have any religious conviction at all, and they're not just a bunch of left-hand path occultists. So I hope that helps somebody out there who might feel the need for some advice. Take care, everybody. May Satan be with you. See you next time. Later.
If you would like to learn more about the Shadow Path Diabolism tradition of occultism, go to rjwomack.com. That's rjwomack.com. If you enjoyed this podcast and support our message, tell a friend, leave us a review, and follow us on social media.